creators, welcome to Mad Science Films. I'm James Plumb, filmmaker, sexual astronaut, and as ever, I'm joined by my informed co-host.
What's pushing it? James Morrissey, filmmaker, and aka Angry Jim. Yes.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So first up, guys, if you're in the UK and a Prime Video member, please check out our fourth feature film for free. Just search for Little Monster or click on the link in the show notes below. This week, another special episode. We're joined by the returning champ, guest star David Melkevik.
What?
Smooth. And
Sup,
Dave himself has chosen this week's film. So, we enjoyed hanging out with Dave so much that we thought, you know what? It's a bit mean us inviting a guest on and enforcing a film on him when he could just, torture us in return. However, Dave, you haven't decided to torture us. What film have you given us?
I have given you the 1997 martial art masterpiece, Drive.
Directed by Steve Wang. Yes. You know what? When we talked about this, I was shocked that it hadn't had a Blu Ray release already. So thank you, Dave. As we say, I've got the special edition DVD, but I was too lazy to dig it out. So I've dug out what appears on YouTube, somewhat illegally, but more legally on Prime Video as well. So that's the US cut. But there was a European UK release, which is apparently about 15 minutes longer. Don't remember a lot about it. It's probably been about 15 years since I last saw this film. Dave, before the rewatch, when was the last time you'd seen this film?
It's been a long time. I reckon it might be probably about 10 years.
Wow, okay, all righty. And Jim, is this the first time watch for you?
I think it is the first time me watching this film. Yes, it is.
I'm a little jelly.
Yeah.
All righty. Before we go any further, I shall drop a synopsis. A prototype-enhanced human on the run from Chinese hired hitmen hooks up with a dreadlocked bystander, and the two of them elude their pursuers narrowly each time. Not the best, but thanks to whoever wrote that on IMDb. Cheers, guys. All righty. So, Dave, why did you pick this film for us?
It just made such an impact on me when I saw it. I think I first saw it on Channel 5, bizarrely enough, and then I managed to hunt down a DVD copy. And at the time, it came out the same year as Matrix. But despite all the millions and millions of money spent on the Matrix, the choreography in Drive is just amazing, and it's probably of that time, that period, just one of the best choreographed martial art movies I'd seen from America, especially in the way it was like. Quite Jackie Chan in style in the choreography, the way they uses the environment. And
you reading my notes, Dave? Are you reading my notes? Sorry.
And but it's even better than like a lot of most Jackie Chan's kind of American stuff, really. So I mean, that's why it made that impact. It was like. It was like a quality martial art movie without subtitles, so I didn't have to read. So I could use my 90% of my brain power on something else.
Yeah. So Steve Wang, he's had an interesting career. Done a few of my other most favorite martial arts, but US type films. So The Guyver, aka in this country Mutronics, and Guyver Dark Hero as well. More known as kind of like a special effects guy, actually. And I think he's moved 100% into that field in the past few years. Still done like an episode or two of Power Ranger type shows, I think. But yeah, Steve Wang, surprisingly, with quite a small budget. I think from the notes that I've read about it, it was about $3 million budget, which, I mean, I would say it's slightly hampered by its budget overall, but it looks about 10 times that amount, in terms of budget. I would have said it's on the low budget side, but I would not have gone that far low budget in terms of what they managed to achieve on there. So, yeah. So was this the first film that you'd seen Mark hang on. How do we say this, Dave? How do we say Mark's?
Dacascos, yeah.
Dacascos. Yeah. So was this the first film you'd seen him in, or had you seen him in other stuff before this?
I think I might have seen him in something else where he played. It was like a 1950s movie where he was just playing like a leather-jacketed bad boy, but he didn't get to show off his martial art flair, and yeah. So this is one where he really made the impression on me and stuff.
See, this is definitely the second film that I'm trying to rack my brain. I don't know whether you turned me onto this film years and years ago, or whether we'd already like just both mutually
bonded over it
and got excited about it. This was definitely either the second or third film I'd seen of his. So I had definitely already seen Crying Freeman, because I remember like hunting that down, because I was a fan of the anime when that came out, and there was a live action version. It was great. He was, visually interesting to look at, but he didn't make a massive impression in that. But I think that's to do with, the character as played. This film felt like a massive showcase for all of, Mark's talents, maybe at the detriment of some of the story, with some tonal shifts where you were kind of like, okay, he can definitely do that, but I'm not sure why his character is doing that at this time. And we'll perhaps go into that a little bit later as well. But it blows my mind that Mark didn't make it big time. It's kind of like the Scott Adkins effect now. You see Scott Adkins, should have been massive, amazing martial artist, screen presence as well. And you're kind of watching it and going, why didn't he make it massive? Why didn't he? The other film Mark did a few years after Drive was Brotherhood of the Wolf. And again, he felt like he was on the cusp of making it massive. And yet he didn't. He kind of presented, what was that cooking show he did in the US?
Oh, Iron Chef?
Iron Chef. He was in Iron Chef. He's in, is it Wu Assassins on Netflix now?
He's in Wu Assassins. He tends to do a lot of TV where he just does like the season's arc as the bad guy.
I think sometimes that's a bad move as an actor. You want to bring it to movies to go down the TV road. If you do too much TV, you're stuck there, in it. It's almost like being in the friend zone. You can't get out of it. So yeah, that's probably some poor choices.
I like that, the friend zone of TV. Nice.
Yeah. I think also he just became a victim of the fact, just the way cinema went, in the fact they were like, well, actually, we can do CGI now. We can, or you get those really, you get like, Bourne films with Matt Damon, and you get all these martial arts, but it's so quickly edited together, you don't really get any sense of any real skill there. And it's just, it was, and you're thinking, 10 years earlier, if it was 1987, he could have been huge, because I think he has everything going from he's like his looks, charisma, because also he looks a badass, but also you could fetch him home and have dinner with your parents with him as well.
He's a baby face, isn't he? He's the baby face hero, and I think that's great casting in this project. So I think I mentioned on the chat when we last met up that this was originally a vehicle developed as a vehicle for Jackie Chan. So this kind of predates Rush Hour by a year, at least in terms of release. Whether they were shooting it around about the same time, I don't know. But originally it was a vehicle for Jackie Chan and bizarrely Sly Stallone. So the two of them were supposed to be teaming up. Which
do you reckon that synopsis would still counter? Said, no, Sly, you have to wear the dreadlocks. It's in the synopsis.
I hope so.
You're going dreadlocks.
Sly Stallone as a songwriter as well. I mean, I would have. Jackie Chan as a singer. I mean, he did obviously sing a lot of the theme tunes to some of his Hong Kong work. So
he is the Dennis Waterman of Hong Kong. I like to think of Jackie Chan. So
harsh.
Yeah.
But so, and bizarrely, a lot of the dialogue clearly hasn't been updated since those early drafts where it was a Jackie Chan film. So in the fight at the handcuff fight, which is amazing, and absolutely, I think what we were talking about earlier, like a fight designed around the set piece, these two guys being handcuffed together, felt very Jackie Chan. And the interplay between the two characters was great. The little looks they were giving as Kadeem was literally holding Mark back, and Mark's like, just let me at him, let me do what I need to do. But there's lines of dialogue where the baddie's saying, no, shoot the little guy in the feet and the big guy in the head, and then you cut to the two of them standing together, and Mark is at least about 3 inches taller than Kadeem. So you're like, okay, that needed a slight rewrite. And there's also the gag where they're pulled over by the police, which I'm sure was originally for Jackie Chan, which is like, and what's your name, sir? And Mark turns around and goes, Sammo Hung. Of course, a massive, basically adopted brother of Jackie Chan, and massive co-star in lots of Jackie's early work. So it's interesting what did get updated and what they just kind of went, let's leave it in. It's fine. Whatever.
You're right. Because there's that whipping scene at the end as well with Kadeem, and you're thinking, that probably did get introduced after he got cast. Worryingly.
I mean, yes, yeah, good point. So yeah, one of the other things I really wanted to focus on was just the era this came out. So this was 97. This was obviously post John Woo in the States. So Broken Arrow, Hard Target obviously had come out. Broken Arrow. Was this around about the same time as Face Off, 97? I think so, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Face Off was 97, 98,
yeah. So again, it had this very, like, they'd obviously stolen a lot of the stuff from Hong Kong action cinema. You know, like the Bazaar, where some of the baddies had to be on dirt bikes, and so they could be kicked off dirt bikes, and you know, the goodie could use a dirt bike as a weapon and stuff. Very John Woo. You know, like his late Hong Kong stuff was very much like that. Just the guys in black suits with white shirts as well, you know, getting their asses kicked and all that kind of stuff. So it felt very much like that, mixed with almost a bit of Tarantino type humor, you know. And again, you know, the fact that we see, you know, the baddies are having these conversations about, you know, great food they'd had in the past or whatever, you know, they remember a job by, you know, oh yeah, remember that roast chicken we had, and all that kind of stuff. So it felt very much of its era. But you know, as a 40-year-old guy, that's the sweet spot for me. I'm perfectly happy with that kind of time period.
Yeah, I think that's the appeal. I think, like, if you're a child of that sort of cinema, you're going to come into this and you're going to just love everything on to offer. I think now, as I say about the choreography at the time, it was fantastic. It was really, really good. But we've had John Wick, you know, John Wick 3 with Mike Dacascos in it, and choreography has moved on. Dialogue, you know, fashion, everything's moved on. So I think as a, you know, maybe for like younger members of your audience, I think maybe it would, they may be going, what's the appeal here? But like you're saying, it's a sweet spot every time.
I would say, I think you touched on it. I think the choreography still holds up, and much in the same way that still with John Wick, not quite to the same extent as the Bourne films, but a lot of that is created in the edit. Whereas, you know, Steve Wang, obviously following a lot of Hong Kong cinema, is he's confident enough to just hold the camera and let Mark do his job. You know, that fight in the motel room where he puts the boots on his feet, so you know, we've got a bit of insulation as he's kicking ass. I mean, fantastic. And again, using the environment, as you said, you know, where he's absolutely scrapping, very Jackie Chan-esque, but, you know, Mark is employing all those techniques to make it entertaining. What did we think? I mean, what did we think about, like, the pacing of the film? Were we, you know, kind of happy with it overall? Was there any bits we thought kind of like dragged or anything like that?
I wasn't totally, I didn't totally like this film. Yeah. I tell you one thing.
I'm trying to disconnect you, Jim. I'm kind of trying to.
Yeah. I will say the action, the stunts, the fighting, the choreography, all that was just brilliant. Mark, you know, done a fantastic job and really enjoyed that. I wasn't a big fan of all the comedy. Now you could argue it's dated, very dated. Okay. But it just, for me, didn't work as well as I've seen it be done later on with Rush Hour and films like that. I'll tell you one character, one actress, which really fucking annoyed me, was Brittany Murphy.
Really?
Yeah, I just didn't get the character, perhaps. I don't know, but she just seemed to be, I mean, unless she's supposed to be annoying in the whole film. But
I read a lot of that online as well. You're not unusual in that opinion of that character. I think a lot of people have found her quite grating. I, however, though, found her totally endearing and charming and sweet and stuff, which probably says something more about my choice in women. And
I think it's a difficult thing, though, isn't it? Like, there's no reason.
It's like Marmite, isn't it?
But there's no reason for that character to be involved, apart from maybe to underline that these are heterosexual men. You know, the two male leads can't bond too much, otherwise there may be the hint that sexual, you know. So it's shoehorning in the lead female character when there was really absolutely no need. She didn't serve any purpose beyond the fact to flirt and remind us that Kadeem at least is a straight heterosexual man.
But again, I just found
function that she actually didn't that film.
But the chemistry between Kadeem and Mark, I didn't really feel that chemistry, that comical chemistry bond. It didn't really play off as well as I've seen in other films of similar ilk. And
I would agree to an extent, mate. Like, I think the script didn't do them any favors. I don't think the script really established why ththese two bonded particularly well. I mean, there's early on this, he's going, he's talking about Kadim's ex-wife and saying, "Oh yeah, no, she still loves you, and stuff." And I'm like, that's an early call, Toby. Okay. However, what I will say, mate, is I think the two actors like had such charisma that by the midpoint of the film, I was completely on board. And there's that completely weird bit, and it's completely totally bizarre, where we're driving along, catching up to the car, and they're bobbing their heads, and you're like, that makes no sense. And yet I'm kind of enchanted by it.
See, I didn't think that. I felt, what the fuck? It just didn't feel. It felt undercooked, a lot of the comedy. Like, and it could be the script. I don't know, but it just didn't work. Whatever was the issue was, it just didn't totally work for me.
Sure.
Yeah, and these tonal shifts you were talking about kind of felt a bit way too off. Because it started off with the music, bit of heavy metal guitar score, the ship, and he's creeping up and he's doing his thing. I was like, fucking yeah, I'm on board with this. And then it started to get a bit cheesy, a bit quirky. Now, whether it's because it was written for Jackie Chan, and when you see Jackie Chan, you're almost going to expect these kind of comedic moments in amongst like some cool action.
I think it's kind of a symptoms of it being a late 90s film. So I think I'm guessing this is kind of like the stream of buddy action movies in terms of by the late 90s, it had all been done to death, right? All of that, the buddy movies, your Lethal Weapons, your Midnight Runs, all of that kind of stuff had been done to death, so that they were just trying to get meta with it, and they were just trying to have fun with it and spoof it up and I agree. From a script point of view, it doesn't always land successfully. I'm just saying I'm a massive fan of Mark, and this film and a few other TV shows, mostly that I've seen with Kadim, meant that I was on board. Brittany, I could take or leave. I mean, it was weird, like how she played the role. I'm sure it was
like she was on something, wasn't it? It was like she's.
I'm sure. Yes, yeah. I'm sure. That was the idea. But it was the actors playing with the material so much that kind of won me over in the end. But I absolutely take on board Jim.
Yeah.
I lay blame at the script, which, I mean, if they've still got jokes from when it was an early draft with Jackie Chan and everything, I think the script was undercooked and perhaps needed a few more passes to make it work overall.
Yeah.
But Dave, do you think we're being too harsh there, or?
No, I don't think you're. I think some jokes land, some don't, and I feel like you're saying it's just very of the period and stuff. But there is some bits with Brittany Murphy's character that did make me laugh. The bit in the restaurant near the end where there's a waitress flirting with Kadim's character, and she just walks past and pushes him, which was cool. Yeah. And there's another bit where I think Kadim says to her, "Have you lost your mind?" And she just looks at him and then just goes, "Okay." And I think that's the point of the character, is she wasn't all there. And I think if you worked at a motel probably all your life, probably you would too. I don't know.
Yeah. I could kind of forgive some of it. I just think as a whole, it did grate on me a little bit. Maybe it says what about me being a miserable prick? I don't know.
I mean, we don't want to highlight that too much angry Jim. Who knows?
In all fairness, I've had a rat in my kitchen for the last fucking 2 weeks, so I'm a little on edge, all right?
There you go, mate.
So, there we go.
What I found interesting about this, and similar to Fatal Deviation, is there doesn't appear to be much of a first act. I mean, literally, the fight on the boat, and then the characters meet within the first 5, 6, 7 minutes.
At the bar,
that effectively is the first act, Dave. I mean, it's
I guess the inciting incident is him meeting Kadim in the bar and stuff.
Which I'm sure is about 6 minutes in. So
yeah,
I mean, again, and I'm not faulting it. You know what? I think maybe that is just something about martial arts film is, the setup is pretty simple. These guys are on the run, and that's it. There's bad guys chasing them. They've got to survive. Okay, yeah, I don't really, due to the nature of the film, they release certain amounts of information about the characters later on in the film. It's fairly stereotypical. I'm okay with that.
I did enjoy going back to the 90s though. I mean, I loved the look of a 90s henchman. I loved, in fact, the one guy who was at the end. There was the guy from I forgot the name of the corporation he come from to buy the actual thing, and they were, you know, they were sitting down and being buddies and all that. The one henchman looked like fucking Tom Green, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
I did. But I enjoyed looking at the costumes, the glasses.
Do you know what really
very 90s.
Talk about those two henchmen. The other guy I recognized. I was like, how do I recognize this guy?
Bob, he's stolen my balloons.
What's that? What's that reference? What's that?
It's Batman.
He was in Batman.
He's Bobby the Goon in Batman. He's the Joker, and then the Joker just shoots him. Batman stole his balloons.
That isn't what I was thinking of. I had to do a lot more digging to think of what I was thinking of. He's like the CIA guy in Guy the Dark Hero, which, sorry guys, Guy the Dark Hero was such a massive film for me as a kid. It came out during the whole anime boom, and what I loved about complete tangent. What I loved about Guy the Dark Hero was it was kind of like a stealthy sequel because they released it as Mutronics in the UK, the first one. I was completely unaware, you know, because Mutronics is like the baddie. So I was like, oh, okay, that's it. And it completely went over my head at the time that it was based on an anime. Then I got into the anime. Then I saw they released Guy the Dark Hero, and I was watching it. I was going, hang on, this rings a bell. And then, thankfully, in the days of video shops, I went back to my local video shop and saw Mutronics. And I was just like, oh, okay. So again, anything to do with Guy the Dark Hero has made a massive impact on me. And thank you, Steve Wang, for that.
Yeah.
I think we all should just thank the Wang for a second. So,
or everybody worship the Wang.
Well, yes,
or worship the Wang.
every day, guys.
I think we've done good that we've got into, what was it, probably 10 minutes before we made our first kind of Wang joke. So I think we all
we've grown as people, you know. We're maturing, guys. Who would have thought?
Half my notes are Wang-esque.
I got to say, I think casting wise, this does really, really well. I think obviously Mark Dacascos, he does an amazing job. It's completely a vehicle for him, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's obviously about his martial arts. It's whatever Jim says. It's to show off his comedy chops, successfully or not. But obviously
also karaoke.
His singing, yes. I mean, a bizarre choice. And Dave, I think you were saying earlier that that's not in one of the cuts. They cut out the
in the director's cut.
Right.
It does the entire song. We just in the American version, you get a shortened version of the song. They let him. That
was the right decision of the
two.
Yes. Again, brilliant to show off his skills. Yes, okay, he can sing. Perhaps not the best place. You know, he gets like an ounce of good news, and the next shot is him karaokeing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a triple threat. He can act, he can sing, he can kick ass.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Kadeem. You know, Kadeem from the days of what was the sitcom he was in? The Cosby Show spin-off. Different world. Yeah, the Cosby kids go to college. I was a massive fan of that. Still a massive fan, thanks to my kids and Disney Plus. He's in Casey Undercover with Zendaya playing her dad. You know, check that out for Kadeem. Brittany Murphy. Interesting role for her. I think it's like post Clueless, but before she started to try establish herself as a serious actress. I mean, I got to be honest, I didn't really follow Brittany Murphy's career that closely.
I think she did 8 Mile like 4 years later or something. So
yeah, and then there was that Don't Say a Word, which I remember seeing at the cinema, but I don't remember anything else about it. Tracy Walter, one of the bad guys, again worked with Alex Cox in a lot of movies like Repo Man, Straight to Hell, and all that kind of stuff. Brilliant. I mean, again, this kind of just character work for henchmen, which that felt very Tarantino, felt very, you know, kind of post True Romance kind of thing. Mr. Nakatomi, I forget his name.
James something.
Yeah, great to see him. And you know, again, you kind of recognize his voice before you recognize him. Like, you know,
definitely
silky smooth tones.
They had some nice little nuggets of cool kind of actors, didn't they? Kind of sprayed in there. So I just think there's a little. It's little Achilles' heel is the fact that unfortunately a lot of the film is made up of TV background actors and perhaps directors as well, and I think that probably They just didn't, for me personally. Again, I think also, if I watched this way back when, I might have had a bit more nostalgia boner for it, perhaps, and forgive a lot of it, but first time.
Yeah, no. Totally get that. Again, I'm watching this with nostalgia goggles, absolutely 100%. I think so much of it does stand up. I think the stuff, Jim, that you've identified, which doesn't quite work, I'm going to put down to the fact of it was of its time period, that time period where they were trying to play with the established genres. I think, like Dave said earlier, if it was released in the 80s, then that humor would have been missing, or, you know, would have been just much more of the punchlines, you know, the cheesy one-liners, you know, what was time to blow, and, you know, Kadeem just gives him a look.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of thing that back in '87 would have been delivered with a straight face, and then cut to the next shot, and just wouldn't have had, you know, a self-referential look to it. So that's where I'm putting it. And Dave, absolutely putting it in what I'm guessing is slightly pre-Matrix.
Same year it came out.
Okay.
So crazy.
Yeah, and because I was saying, like, you know, it's the choreography. As much as I do love the Matrix and stuff, and I love Keanu Reeves. I just think, you know, you could imagine Mike Dacascos in the Neo role, just what those fight scenes could have been and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think that's part of Drive's charm. As unfortunately, some of the things we'd say the cheaper elements, like say the TV actors, maybe the TV look of some of the sets and stuff. That's because at the end of the day, they didn't get Jackie Chan and Sly Stallone.
Yeah.
But if they did get Jackie Chan and Sly Stallone, I don't think we'd be talking about this movie now, especially me and Jim, as fondly, because I don't think it would have been. I think it'd have been a bit watered down in certain places, and
What I would say is, and absolutely, Jim, it does feel like a TV movie. But considering the budget was $3 million, what they achieved was, I think, amazing. And this is me, not as an audience member, but as a filmmaker, making an action movie of that quality for $3 million. Hats off to Steve Wang for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not that it felt like a TV because it was made by TV, but I just think, like, when you go into feature and you're handling a script which clearly has all these changes and tonal changes and all the rest of it, you kind of balance comedy, humor, action, martial arts, you know, I think, and especially on a long format, I think it does help to have somebody at the helm who's got experience with that as well. Perhaps because they may have looked at the script differently, perhaps made the changes.
But I would say maybe that's a Steve Wang thing, because Guy the Dark Hero and Mutronics, they have those weird tonal shift changes between, you know, like horror gore transformation and then slapstick comedy with those same monsters.
Again, I think with Guy the Dark Hero, he kind of found the right script for him, because it was such a mental idea, isn't it? You kind of lose a bit of that, like where this is more, you know, far out sci-fi. You kind of hold it more to reality. You know, you kind of almost want to anchor it down to reality a bit more. So when it does these crazy shifts, it doesn't seem quite right. But I love the choreography in this film. I think it's fucking fantastic. I think the fighting scenes, Mark, is kick-ass. You know, it's a shame he didn't go on to do a lot more martial arts films and stuff like that.
He did go on to do a lot, but he just never kind of made it to the next level. Which was
in fact, there's one film I've got as a recommendation that I would have preferred to see him in rather than the other guy,
interesting. I can't wait for that. So what did we think about the final scrap? I've got to be honest, this is the bit where it breaks down slightly for me. I mean, otherwise I'm completely in love with this film, but I think after the handcuff fight and then the taser fight in the motel, I was slightly underwhelmed with the massive final scrap at Apollo 14. You know, especially they bring out the upgraded model, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm ready for this. I was slightly underwhelmed. Am I alone in that, or do you guys, you know, feel similarly, or?
I wasn't. I mean, it kind of played out the way I thought it would, to be honest. It's the usual. Guy comes in, they beat everywhere, but then he's left, and then they kind of have a standoff. I thought maybe it would have been nice to see Mark get his ass kicked a little bit more. Perhaps, you know, I kind of like to regenerate or give him, like, boost him up. Like, what was the lines they say in the control room? Like, how many calls or something like that? And he's like, all of them. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I
like the setup. It just, the payoff for me after how we
mean the way you went, like,
it's not it's not just this film. I think a lot of action movies suffer with this, where they make the opening fight or the midway fight so spectacular that they almost need to pace themselves, like release it piecemeal, so that by the end that final scrap is completely epic and you're blown away, which I think is one thing that the Matrix does do well in that it makes its final fight the best one that we've seen so far.
Or like Universal Soldier, Dolph Lundgren and Van Damme.
Exactly.
They could have got a bit more.
That was the bit I felt didn't land, but that might just be me. I mean, Dave, what are your thoughts on the final scrap?
I love the final scrap. It delivers completely everything I want from a final scrap. Where I'd have made the fight a little bit longer. I think, I think James said, I think we could have done more with the fact that actually he was facing, as they said, the upgraded model and was taking a kick in. The game changer in the fight is. And then what they should probably do more of is the fact he can't actually compete physically with him. But what we've seen throughout the film is he's very good at using his physical environment. And apart from using
That's what I would like to have seen more of, definitely.
Apart from that bit where he just uses the broomstick to kind of give himself a slight advantage, he then discards that and it goes back to fists and feet. And he just wanted it more. But I'd like to see my heroes in that final fight scene just take a bit more of a kick in before they deliver.
I think that's it. I think if it had those two elements, as Dave said, the environment, and then as Jim said, he was kind of on the ropes more. I think I would have been fully on board. But again, I'm nitpicking here. I'm well up for badgering some Blu-ray labels to put this bad boy out. So guys. Do we have any ideas about who might be best placed? Dave, as a guest, feel free to jump in at this. Any Blu-ray?
From my last appearance here, when I said I know nothing about film distribution companies, you would have thought I would have gone away diligently.
Yes.
Done my research.
Yes. But
no, like a total wang, I still have no answer for this. So I am going to pass over to you guys.
Okie dokie. Jimothy, what we got?
I just I'm gonna. It sounds like I'm copping out, but I really do think that sci-fi action, definitely Arrow, definitely 88. I think there's material in it, isn't it, to explore and bring it all together in a nice package, and maybe team it up with other kind of Mark. Or even like Steve Wang. I would need to see a bit of a Steve Wang collection going on with one of those.
So I think I agree. I mean, those are the two recommendations I've got. Arrow films, because they put out Guyver earlier. So I think a Steve Wang retrospective, a box set. The Wang oeuvre. Let's see
the mega Wang collection.
Let's see more Wang. I mean, I think that's what we need. So let's put out a box set with Guyver Dark Hero, and Drive. I think that would be a great set. 88 films as well. I mean, they're releasing a ton of 90s action stuff at the moment. They're making their way through Jean-Claude Van Damme's back catalogue at the moment, including Replicant, which has a documentary edited by myself with help from Mr. Morrissey. Female footage there. Feature-length documentary, by the way. So check out their work, and I definitely think they'd be well placed to put out Drive as well. Let's get both versions of the film on there, compare and contrast. Do one of those diverting tree menus, so you can decide to watch the director's cut or the butchered US cut, whichever. So guys, what do we think in terms of recommendations if people dug this film? Dave, what would you suggest they also checked out?
I've been struggling this all week because it's such a unique kind of film that anything I kind of suggest is actually just kind of lesser.
Okay.
And some of the stuff, like, I could say like Jim just mentioned Universal Soldier, which actually is fairly similar kind of plot, half men, half machine kind of martial arts stuff. And that's a good movie. But I'm guessing most people who watch this will have seen Universal Soldier, much in the same way, like, if you love the physical environment stuff, go and see some Jackie Chan stuff, Project A Police Story. But again, I'm assuming if you watch this, you are a connoisseur of cinema. You know what to go and see. I mean, the other cool things that popped into my head, which is just a 90s martial art movie that I really dug, was Rapid Fire with Brandon Lee.
Nice.
That's kind of cool. So if you haven't seen that, definitely dig that out. And then just going forward, the only guy who's really kind of doing similar sort of stuff now, really quality martial art works a lot with Scott Atkins, is Isaac Fiorentine. So any of his stuff, dig out, because that is some quality action stuff. And again, a bit like you saying with Steve Wang, why is he not making bigger blockbuster movies? Because I'd love to see this top quality choreography on the big screen.
Yeah, he's done quite a few films with Mr. Atkins, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
Yeah. Was he? No, that was. Peter Hyams' son, wasn't it? Or John Hyams' son did the Universal Soldier.
Soldier stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Good, cool. Okay, cool. Jim, what about yourself, man? What we got?
Well, if you've just watched this film and you fancied a little bit more, not quite sure where to go, check out some Jackie Chan stuff, Rumble in the Bronx, Police Story, films like that. Like Dave said, very good films. I was gonna Showdown in Little Tokyo. I love that film. And I wonder, and it's very.
You know what?
90s,
I'm worried about rewatching
arts.
it. I loved it as a kid, but I'm worried I'm going to be disappointed now, so I haven't rewatched it yet.
I haven't watched it recently, but maybe I will. But I had a fondness for that film, and I just wondered if a Mark Damascus would be quite fitting in that role. No, not to slate Brandon Lee, mind, but I wonder.
Didn't they do a sequel? I got a feeling they did like a sequel, not obviously with Brandon, but somebody else. But
he did. Funny enough, Mark Dacascos did replace Brandon Lee for the TV series of The Crow. So there is a little bit of.
Here we go. Yeah.
Also featuring an episode of Kadiman as well.
No, everything is circular.
I think they just got on. I think they got on really well on Drive and teamed up on a few other things as well. Cool. Okay, Jim, anything else?
I was going to mention some 90s on the run action with Bulletproof. Maybe
Sandler and Wayans.
Yeah. Check that out. Bit of fun there. So there you go. Yeah.
It's probably been at least 20 years since I've seen that. So that was when I was on the Sandler kick rather than an action kick. So interesting. Yeah, I'll check that out again. Yeah, I'm intrigued. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going for the Wang retrospective. So definitely Guyver Dark Hero, Mutronics, however you can find your Wang, pick it up. And also some Mark Dacascos films, because I think if you enjoyed that, there are other films out there. So Crying Freeman, again, not massive for all of his skills, but definitely his martial arts stuff on display. Seeing him in a bigger budget film, Brotherhood of the Wolf, of course, definitely worth checking out too. And he also did like a trio of films around about the same time as Drive with, I'm going to butcher this name, Tibor Takat. So the director of The Gate. And I definitely have seen two of these, but I couldn't tell you which two. This is back in my Blockbuster Video days. So I've definitely seen Armageddon, because I remember it came out at the same time as the other more well-known Armageddon. Also Sabotage and Sanctuary. Those are like late 90s, just action, straight to DVD or straight to video, I guess at the time it probably would have been, movies. Him working with the same director, and the films do progressively get better and capitalize more on Mark's skills as they go on. So it's a fun little triple bill to try check out. Not sure. I think you can probably pick them up on Prime Video, but you may have to pay the odd 99p for those. I would say they're worth it though. So yeah, those are my recommendations. Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dave, for joining us yet again. It was a pleasure, sir.
It was a pleasure. Anytime there's Wang, I'll be there.
No. You say the sweetest things, Dave.
I just feel bad now that if we have you on again, we're gonna have to dig out a Wang film that hasn't been released on Blu Ray. So we'll keep digging for Wang. Okay, guys. If you dug this film, let us know in the comments. If there's any other films that you think we should check out, let us know in the comments. And Jim, what else can these people do for us?
Well, if you like Wang, I'm joking. If you like this video, then please hit the like button. If you enjoyed start again. If you like this video, then please hit the like button. Right. If you like this video, then please hit the like button. If you've been enjoying the Mad Science content, then why not subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook. If you have any comments or suggestions, then leave those in the comment section down below. Thank you and goodbye.
Peace. Hey. Cheers, peeps.